Hello there and welcome to this Chrome extension series. Starting from this video, we're going to see how to build this project with React and deploy it to the Chrome Web Store. So basically, we're going to have a simple time and date widget. Underneath it, we have this reading component, which shows a simple message based on the current time. It could be good morning, afternoon, or evening, along with your name, which is saved in local storage. At the right hand side, we've got this weather widget. We pass in the name of the city and it returns all of this data in a simple, clean format. Then at the bottom right corner, we made a basic crypto app. We select the cryptocurrency and the physical currency and fetch the current market rate. Next, we can add to-dos, edit them, check or delete them. And lastly, we have a Bookmarker app which receives a couple of things, the link of the web page and the name. And that's pretty much it. You can download it from the Chrome Web Store, link in the description. I think that's good enough for the intro. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I've created this folder called New Tab Extension. And it has the Create React App boilerplate, which contains all of these files and folders, as you can see. So I've cleaned up everything. I deleted the unnecessary files and images and all that kind of stuff. And here's what I did. I just changed the title of the app, and I've cleaned the CSS, index CSS, and app CSS. Then in the package.json file, we just changed the port we set it to 3011 instead of 3000. Okay, and the server is running. I just ran npm start. And there we go. This is what we have so far. Nothing. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to create a global components folder here inside the source. We're gonna make components folder, and then inside it we're gonna have the first component, which is going to be the time component. Like I said, this one has a couple files, time, JS, and the CSS file as well. Okay, we don't need that for this time. So before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that we're going to be using React hooks to build this tiny project, as the community is moving towards this direction. So this is going to be a beginner project, like I said, and I'll try to make things as simple as I can. Okay, we'll just create a bit of markup here where we will render the data. So the first thing we need to do is to create a stateless functional component, and this is going to generate a simple and clean boilerplate like that. I'm gonna call it time. Okay, you can find this extension in the VS Code marketplace. It's called Simple React Snippets by Burke Holland. Then in the return statement, we're gonna put some text to test things out. So we'll say time card. Okay, that's not working because we have to change this to React syntax. Okay, card, and then inside it we'll just have a span element with a class name called timespan. Okay, I'll say current time. Save that. Say, okay, we have to import this to the app.js. So what I'm going to say is the time actually, and then you can see it. It's going to be auto imported for us. Okay, and then you close it. Save. There we go. Now back inside time, if we try to log the JavaScript date object, let's say let now is equal to new date, and then if I try to log this one, say now, See that here. Okay, inspect. And you can see that's a pretty large object. Contains the day, the time, and the location here. Okay, now let's try to render that in the browser. Why don't we see it here in this place, for example? Okay, now what we can do, complete that, and using curly braces, this is how to write some JavaScript code inside JSX. So, as you may know or may not, this is the JSX. Here we're going to say now. Okay, let's save. There we go. We've got a bug here. So what it says, objects are not valid as a React child. So we cannot render object in JSX. So since we can see the result in the console, let's just go ahead and get what we need from that object. So what we can do, we can convert this object to a string. As you can see, it looks like a string though. Okay, so we're going to take the first three chunks of the date object, which are the day, month, and date. And I believe there are several ways to extract or take off a chunk of a string. So since we declared the now variable as let, we can then reassign its value to a new one, or maybe update it rather than declaring a whole new variable to store the new value. Okay, so I'm going to use a date related method which is called toDateString, which as it sounds is going to stringify the date object. So what I'm going to say now is now equal to date string. Okay, if I save it, I come back here, refresh. Oh man, we've got another bug here. Now this time the error says functions are not valid as a React child. So add that to blacklist. Great, we now have learned that objects and functions cannot be rendered in the markup. Okay. So, okay, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't add the parentheses here. Let's say, now, refresh, there we go, we got rid of this error. But still, a typo to learn something new. Moving on, so from this new string, we're gonna pick the sequence we need in order to display the actual date here. Now, we're gonna take the first 10 or 11 characters, which will be the day, month, and the date. So this could be done with the slice method, or even we can just use the built-in methods of the date object, like get month, get date, get day, and things like that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the slice method, which is a JavaScript method that helps us make useful things. So back inside here, I'll say slice. There we go, pass from 0, the first element, up to this one. And this is not included, as mentioned here. So from 0 to 10. Now if I save that, refresh, you can see the year has been neglected. Alright, cool. Now I'm going to create a function that will allow us to display the date in the format that we want. So in here at the bottom of this thing, I'm going to say const date time is equal to the following. To begin, we're going to instantiate a new object like so. Say let date is equal to the date. Okay, and you can use the previous one, which is this one, now object. I'm gonna use this one, doesn't matter. And to display the current time, we're gonna pick the hours and minutes, just like I said earlier. You can use get month, get day, get year. Let's say const say hours is equal to date get hours, and the same thing with minutes is equal to date get minutes. All right, let's try to log them now. Say hours and minutes. save. All right, we don't see it. We didn't call the update time function. Say update time. That's how you do it. Okay. Now I can see it. It's 15:30. Now then, we need to join these couple things and render them in the browser. So, like a basic concatenation, that'll separate them with a column. Say date is now equal to hours plus a column plus something plus the minutes. Let's try to log the date instead. There we go, that's better. Alright, if I want to see that in action, I would think of putting it inside a span element, for example. Now here I'll say span, I'll say the date. Okay, we cannot see that because, as you can see, it's not allowed to do that because the date variable is not defined according to JSX, and that's because the date object has been declared as a local variable for the update time function, so we cannot use it outside of this function unless we use something like object destructuring, which is a little bit advanced to the scope of this tutorial. So you may be thinking of the global scope. I don't mind, so you may be able to declare a global variable like, I'll say, actually let time, okay, and then here we can assign the date value to the time. So time is now equal to date. Okay, and then here instead we can just say time. Let's save that. Okay, now we can see it. This is the time and this is the date, which is now the now variable. So this is working. I think we can stop at this point because if you're just trying to make something really simple just like that one, you don't need any complicated solution. But when it comes to bigger apps, this may not be a good fit. So you're gonna need to use something that makes your app a little more modern and more robust. Well, at this point, allow me to introduce React hooks. We're going to use the almighty useState hook. If this is the first time you play around with the hooks, I'm going to tell you what the useState is and what it does real quick. So basically, when you want to render an updatable element, like something that has a variable state, you would want to find a way to reset its value in some way. Well, useState comes to the rescue. According to React docs, the useState hook declares a state variable, and it's a hook that allows you to have state variable in a functional component. Give it the initial state, which by the way could be nothing, null, and it returns the current state value along with a function that updates it. Here's an example. You can just go outside of this components because we can write more than one component in one single file. So say stateless functional component again, and then I'm gonna call this meal, okay? And then here we're gonna create a new hook. This is how we do it. Say const, let's say food is set food is equal to useState, okay? And I'm going to set that to an empty string. Alright, so this is the state, and this is the setter, or the function that is going to update it. And then we can create a function. We'll say, for example, const show menu is equal to the following. And then inside this function, once this function run, it's going to set the food to pizza, for example, and then the food state is now going to be set to pizza, okay? Then we can head on to the return statement to that function and that component. I'll just say div, and inside I'll put some heading, for example, and we'll just bring in the food here. And that's it. Now if you got the idea, try implementing the same logic into our project. So what you need to do is just get rid of it. Okay, so here at the top, we're going to create a new useState hook and assign it to the current time and its function that'll update it. So I'll say const time and set current time, and this is going to be equal to useState. Okay, I'll just set it to empty. Right, and then inside this function update time here, we're gonna set the current time this date object. Okay, just comment that, and I'll say set current time to this date, and then at the end, instead of that, we will just say current time. Now press save. Minify React reduction. Okay, let's fix the import. I don't know what happened with that. We just need to say simply React. Okay, refresh. Alright, we've got a new error. Too many re-renders. Well, my friends, that was expected. So, in React, we can't just call functions just like that, randomly. Especially those functions that has hooks in it, inside it. And this means that React is trying to make as much of rendering as it can. In other words, it's trying to refresh the component, and every time the component gets refreshed, the function is getting invoked again. So the component gets refreshed once again, and so on and so forth. So in this case, React decided to stop this action from repeating. So if you want to do such a similar thing, you better put it in a useEffect hook, which is another cool React hook that can be used in miscellaneous use cases. We're going to use it in some of the next tutorials. In our case, we could conquer that by putting the update time function in a timeout and rerun it once every second. So what we could say here, timeout, and I'm going to put it here, and this is going to be a brand every 1 second. Okay, I shouldn't put this like that. Okay, if I save this, refresh, there we go. This is getting better. Now, finally, we're going to add another thing for the time to fix the time looking. I mean, if it's 7, for example, 7 a.m., it's going to be 7 without a 0, so we need to add that 0 because this is going to be strange. Okay, so here I'm going to make some simple if statement. I'm going to say if minutes is less than 10, and minutes is going to be equal to 0 plus minutes. And then the same thing happens with the hours, I'll say. Alright, if I save this, refresh, but hours is constant. Okay, this should be let. This is warning, and that's it. Okay, just now get rid of this time. So we made a good beginner move with React. Now let's just go ahead and install that component. Alright, so back to time.css. We're going to add some simple styles here, and what I'm going to say, time card is going to have the following stuff. I'll set display to flex, and specify content center, and I'll say flex direction. It should be colon, Okay, let's look at that. Save it. Yeah, I need to import. Yeah, it should be imported here. Say time.css. Save it. There we go. That's better. And I'm gonna set the width to 350 px and the height to 130. I'm gonna set the font size to 35. There's a background black and the color white. Okay, you have some padding, 15 px, and finally a border radius of 10 px. Let's save it. There we go. But the font size isn't showing correctly. Is there anything wrong? Ah, the font size pixels. There we go, that's better. And what else? Just gonna go back to the time span and I'll say a letter spacing. I'll just put this 3 px. Well, actually for this one, no, sorry. This should be the time span. Okay, I think that's it. That was a simple project. I hope you learned something, how to use useState, how to create and how to write some JavaScript in JSX, how to not write some other JavaScript in JSX, and see you later in this one, in the reading component. Thanks for watching and see you later.